welcome to the Yerky Boys. May the Kandrona shine and strengthen you. My name is Will.
My name is Jonathan.
And we are
the Yerky Boys.
All right. That sounded like it was in sync that time.
So I intentionally came in much earlier than I thought I needed to. So maybe that's the trick.
I think it's going to work in the future.
Well, if it works on our third try, that's pretty good. I thought it would take 25 episodes.
Well, we're pros at this. We learn fast.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I liked your addition there.
Thank you.
That's nice about the Kandrona rays.
Yeah, we're gonna keep updating it as the books go along. We'll get a rhythm.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Now, this is our first podcast since we've launched to the public.
That's true. It is.
Yeah, everybody can hear us now.
Yeah, the response has been overwhelming too.
The response has been overwhelming. I just want to say, according to our stats on anchor.fm, we have an audience size of 24.
Wow, that's pretty good. Now, does that mean 24 people have listened to us, or what does that mean in audience size?
That is the number of different devices that have either downloaded or streamed us in the past week.
That's pretty good, because, I can only account for like 3 or 4 of them in terms of people that I know.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Oh, yeah. Like 14 of them are me on different IPs.
Oh, okay.
That's still pretty good. So now it's possible people aren't going to listen to this one after they heard the other ones.
Yeah, we'll see if our stats go down or up.
But if even just one person is listening, that's very exciting because we're not going to stop anyway. But if people do like it and want to spread the word, spread the love, that would be nice.
Yeah, and maybe someday we could have 36 people.
Wow. Yeah, maybe. Now, there's some stuff I want to say, some cleanup stuff at the top of the show, but I don't know if you have anything else you want to introduce.
We'll get to it when we start talking about the books, but if you have cleanup, let's get it clean.
Basically, last week the book had so much to talk about that there were a few things that I just forgot to say and we wouldn't have had time for. But this week, this book is a little bit less important than the first book, so we should have more time to mess around, right?
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of just cleanup from the last book, like the few things that I forgot to say, I think are more general, and I can just integrate them into this thing. I mean, really, the only thing that I kind of came away from last podcast with was that, like, I'm a lot more hyped for this now because I was not sure like where we were going to be, like if you were going to come in and hate it, and it really felt like we're sort of on the same page. I think that a lot of, I don't know, you had a lot of opinions that kind of synced up with where I am with the series, and I'm excited to go through it more now. Yeah.
I mean, our media tastes tend to align most of the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah, that's the most is the worry.
Most of the time. Well, the first thing we must mention, and I think especially now that we have 24 listeners, is that completely by coincidence, happenstance, on February 7th, an article was posted to Polygon.com titled, "It's 2023 and we're all reading Animorphs." And I sent this to you.
That. Yes, I had forgotten about that, but you did show me.
I feel this is like a good omen that we just are launching this podcast, and this website is also like, hey, Animorphs, it's in the zeitgeist, maybe.
Right. We got our finger on the pulse.
I guess. I don't know if it's true, but they say it is.
Yeah. All of them are. That all of the one or two the writer and editor who approved that.
Maddie Myers of Polygon.com, senior games editor.
Wow.
She's their senior games editor.
Senior games. Yeah, that's not the junior games editor.
Yeah. She's a fan of Street Fighter, and she writes synth pop music.
Wow.
By the way, that reminds me, I have even more. Now, this No, never mind. We're boring the shit out of people who just want to hear about Animorphs. So I'm gonna just stick to Animorphs now. We've done enough intro stuff. Just a couple things that are very general that
Yeah.
I want to like say about Animorphs.
Yeah, yeah.
The first thing is, and this is something that's going to come up in every book, I think that I could probably save for any episode, but it feels good to establish it now as a foundation. The I don't we didn't I don't think really talk that much about the fact that these books are written as if they are sharing a secret with us, right? Like these books are
Yes.
written like it's not just an omniscient narrator. The characters are sharing the story of the Yerks with us.
Yes.
Um, Now I think this conceit is very cool, and it does it grips you, and you're like, oh, this is like some secret shit I got to know about. This is interesting. This is government conspiracies, and these kids have cracked it. I got to read these books. But at the same time, a lot of it, I'm not sure how much sense it makes.
No.
Mainly, I get my question is this 100%? Is it just a conceit? Like for the books to give them a point of view, or is there ever a point in this story where like literally they're like, we need to write this down? Are we supposed to believe these books are actually coming out like while this is happening, or is it there's a just it's fictional and don't worry about that?
Yeah, I mean, so I would say it's fictional and don't worry about it. The idea that the books exist is never like canon to the book story. You know, this isn't the Dark Tower or whatever. Um you are the books take place as they come out. Right. Like,
Yeah.
the books come out from like 96 to 2000 or whatever. That's the time period they take place over. The books come out about once a month. That's how frequently the events in the books happen. So like they are supposed to be concurrent with their release, but like no, they don't exist in their universe. The kids aren't really talking to you. And yeah, it doesn't make any sense at all. Like I for like they start every book and they say, well, like in this one, my name is Rachel, but I can't tell you my last name because then they'd find me. Uh I'm just gonna say at the end when their identities are made public, her first name is Rachel. Like she
Uh,
didn't change her first name
that was
to
my another question I had was, yeah, like, why is your first name okay to reveal?
yeah,
Why?
no, where do we live? Who knows? It's only, in the same city where we fight Visser Three every time. And where do we go to school? We go to school in the school with, assistant principal Chapman, and that is actually his full name. And which
Right.
kid am I? I'm Rachel, who did this, this, and this. And yes, my name is Rachel. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's not they're not doing a great job covering their tracks. It's
right.
so okay, so basically just like I wouldn't I wish I guess in my head canon maybe they're all keeping journals. Maybe it's all diaries or something. And it's like they've got a note on it that's like publish this if I die or something.
Mm.
Maybe I don't know. Or it's like a Rorschach thing where he drops it in the mailbox at the end of the book. I don't I don't
Yeah.
know.
It's funny because like if I think about it from like a late 90s perspective, it just feels like wow, that's so dangerous writing it all down in a diary where anybody could find it and read it. But now from the 2020s perspective, I've just been thinking that's smart to write it in a diary as opposed to like post stuff online where anybody could see it.
Yeah, it's their Zanga. You remember
Yeah.
Zanga?
I do remember Zanga.
People listening to the Animorphs podcast will remember Zanga.
Yeah, they will. 100%.
All right. Well, that was it. That was the big thing that was just sticking in my craw, and I had to uncraw
Yeah.
it.
I'm glad that you uncrawed it. And
Yeah.
it is relevant to this one. It's relevant to the well, we'll maybe talk about it a little if we feel like it. We'll see.
All right.
Uh but this book here is The Visitor. So we're on book 2 here. So
Yeah.
let's look at the cover.
Let's look at the cover.
We got Rachel turning into a cat. Um
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
we got a quote that says no one knows who they are. because they're so secret.
No ellipses, just a
Oh,
sentence,
no,
period.
there's ellipses on mine.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You
Do
know
you
what? Oh, interesting. Well, no, I didn't have it handy, so I just Googled it, and some of them
Mm.
do and some of them don't. Maybe for some reason the one on Seropedia does not, but other ones I
Oh,
see
that's weird.
do. Maybe
Well,
later
this
editions removed it.
that's strange. I wonder what edition this is, because this is I had to replace my copy of this book. And it actually has the same damage that my one as a kid had, where in the little cutout on the face, the right whiskers of the cat are like peeling back. I'm pretty sure that's just if you like slide it in and out of other books, that area catches. Or maybe
Hmm.
it's my book. Maybe they sold me my book back.
Maybe that it made its way around back to you. I think that could be what happened, yeah.
It could be. Um, but
But
yeah, there's a lot more. Rachel's a lot more like clearly drawn, right?
yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, right. Like it's not really it doesn't look like it's meant to be realistic. It looks like an illustration.
Yeah, it's yeah, and
And
so they're still finding their style on that for sure.
yeah, it looks a little less freaky than the first cover.
Yeah, I think part of it also is just that the middle stages, she just looks like a cat girl, and like that's just a normal thing you see. You don't really see lizard men or any of these other weird things that come with her.
That is true. Also, like the second transition is hiding behind her face.
Yeah,
Like
that probably would be the weirdest one.
you can't see any. I feel like on most of the later ones, every stage is fairly clear, like
Yeah,
visible.
these stages also are all like drawn, and I feel like some of the later ones. The first one you said it's got like a reboot thing going on. In the later ones, I think that they use like actual photographs of the kids and then a drawing of the bird, and they really do look like they somehow photoshopped the middle stages. I think more.
Mm.
I'll look at it again when I get there. I was never hugely paying attention to the covers as a kid, but you gotta
It's
look.
important. It's important
It is
stuff.
important. And actually, we didn't go over the inner cover last time,
Mm,
but I really
right.
want to make sure that you see the inner cover on this one because it's pretty good. If you don't see it, I can send it to you right now.
Is it just it looks like the cat in the doorway with the
It
light
it
coming in?
sure does.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
sent it to you too, but I guess you see it
Okay.
now. It's a
Yeah.
heck of a cat.
It's a good looking cat. It's a pretty nice looking cat.
I like him. He's got some style to him.
Yeah,
He's
it's
got
got
poise,
swagger. Yeah.
swagger. That's the word.
Yeah. No, it's a nice I mean, honestly, it's a pretty nice drawing.
Yeah, it's fun. I think some of these drawings are going to get a little bonkers, but uh, yeah,
Yeah.
I like this. You could definitely get this a little cat picture going on
Yeah, I could see that on a nice black t-shirt. I'd wear
here.
that.
Well, yeah.
God,
Uh,
they need Animorphs t-shirt. They should just have a t-shirt for
oh,
every book cover.
they should. That's a
Oh,
good point.
yeah, where's the merch? We'll get to merch. All right. But
Yeah,
that's yeah,
we will. But yeah, jumping into the book here. Um,
let's jump.
I mean, just for first, like basic overview, basic ideas here. I will say this is not one of the ones when I was a kid that I reread heavily. I think this was one of the last ones of the first 20 that I bought. Um, Rereading as an adult, I'm always going all the way through, but as a kid, I just picked my favorites. Um, and this
Mhm.
one's definitely a lot more grounded, I think, than the first one. Like a lot less crazy high concept sci-fi stuff and a lot more just like what you might expect if you said they turn into animals. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah, I mean, there's still aliens and spaceships. They just don't quite feel
yeah,
the need to explain as much of the intricacies of it, I guess.
yeah. And I also feel like they aren't as present throughout. Maybe you disagree with that, but
I mean, I think it's by default. How could it be more present? The first book is so ludicrous. Like, yeah, there's
yeah,
gonna be less.
yeah. But yeah, when we start off in this book, I guess we can jump into it. So you start off with a scene where they're all flying around as birds. So they've all acquired their bird morphs, and I believe, I don't know if it explicitly says it, that this is the first time that they're flying. Most of them, except Tobias.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, and this is interlaced with that intro that I was telling you about that they're going to do in every single book.
Yeah,
Uh,
which I will say, you warned me of the
mhm,
retelling, of everything. Now, I don't know if I'll get sick of it in more books or if it gets worse or something, but I actually found the way they did it that it's, like, interspersed, and it's fairly brief, all things considered. I didn't really mind it. I thought it was gonna literally be like chapter 1. We need to
mhm,
remind you of that time that the aliens came down, and, like, it was gonna be a straight up
mhm.
retelling of, like, previously on. But I thought it was pretty, more elegantly done than that.
Yeah, I think it gets a little bit worse, but it's also hard to say because part of it is also just if you do the same like it. When you're on book 30, they're not saying previously on this is book 20. They're saying previously on this is book one again. Because book one told you everything you needed to know. So at a certain point, it just starts getting extremely old, at least to me. But
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, yeah, I could see
yeah.
that.
Um, but yeah, flying around as birds here, we see Rachel is a bald eagle. I don't know if they tell you that Jake is a peregrine falcon,
They
and
did, they did.
okay, and Cassie and Marco are ospreys, which I'm pretty sure they didn't tell us.
Mm.
Um, and I will say I think that's a little weird that Cassie, because presumably these are all from the barn, right?
I guess.
Cassie's Wildlife Rehabilitation Center. It's a little weird that they're all hurt at the same time and not, the other four turned into the same bird that she happened to have.
I have a theory that maybe Cassie is hurting these birds. She's a little serial killer in the making, and
And maybe she got Tobias and was like, I need you to go bully some birds for us.
yeah. Yeah, important
Yeah.
mission. Yeah, that sounds right.
Right. And because you don't go to school anymore, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Actually, can you acquire a morph if you're in animal form, or do you have to be a human?
You cannot. You have to be in your regular form.
Okay, so he couldn't just drop them as a flea onto a bird or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he couldn't do that.
Oh
Um,
well. Oh well.
Yeah.
Uh,
Or be a gorilla or whatever to hold the tiger in place. Anyway, while they're flying there, they start getting shot at by these two teenage punks who are drinking underage. Um, there's some really good dialogue here. Because they decide that what they're going to do about this instead of fly away is that Rachel steals their gun and Marco steals their beer and they dump them off as birds.
yeah.
It's a little ridiculous.
I mean, it's a good opening. It's a good opening. Everyone's happy being a bird, but
Hmm.
you think like, oh, they're gonna get to have a little fun, but like page 3, it's like, no, they're being shot at. I'm
Yeah,
like, okay, all right, we're getting started early, I guess.
I just want to read some of the lines that these guys say here.
Oh, sure, sure, sure,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. They go, that bird has your gun, Chester, and that other one stole my beer. That ain't right. Ain't right that no bird should take my rifle like that.
Oh yeah, I have that one. Yeah, ain't right that no bird should take my rifle like that.
It's quite good. Um, yeah, they usually with these stories they intro them with they're like, oh, we shouldn't use our morphs for personal stuff, so they intro every story with them doing some personal stuff with it. Uh, there'll always
Mhm.
be some tiny little no stakes thing where they fuck around.
There's kind of, I guess this is kind of anti-drinking. I don't know that they take their beer away.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, Marco's like, aren't you a little young to be drinking or whatever?
Yeah, it sounds like he says that sarcastically, but I guess
Yeah,
I
I
don't.
think if Marco were a couple of years older, he'd be drinking too. So,
Now, I mean, I'm also wondering if they're running around as birds. I mean, I'm just wondering, are they just like just constantly shitting out their cloacas the whole time, or do you think they? I don't know. That's what birds do. Are they doing
I
that?
I feel like there's at least one scene where they poop on someone in these books. But maybe it's Visser 3 and Human Morph.
All right,
So
all
they
right.
I think they can, I don't.
Good to know. Good to know. To me, I mean, Tobias he's just fucking clawing at these guys' heads in this scene
Yeah.
too. Like
Yeah, Tobias loves to claw. That's
it's like that's you a fucking hawk
yeah,
getting its talons in your face. That is
yeah,
violent.
yeah,
There's no way around it. Like you can't write that to be like cute and fun. It's like no, that's gonna blind you or some shit. that's
yeah.
that's
Well,
dark.
they were shooting at a bald eagle is what they were doing.
Yeah, that's not. Come on.
Yeah, that's
Unless it's
just
a symbol for America, then that's cool to do. But
right.
if it's just an eagle, sometimes an eagle is just an eagle. I also sorry, I had too many things. I did write peregrine falcons are cool as hell. That's why I know that it was in there.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if it was because of this book or if this was just a thing that was pushed to kids, but I definitely thought peregrine falcons were like the coolest things when I was a kid.
Yeah, yeah, they are really cool. I mean, the books will tell you over and over again. They are the fastest birds. You know, when they dive, they hit 200 miles an hour or whatever.
Isn't
Um,
is Power Rangers White Rangers? Doesn't he also have a falcon? Is there? Or is that? Or am I making
I
that up?
I don't remember.
Is there a falcon or somebody's name just sound like Falcon? I don't know. I just feel like there was some other stuff that was falcony when I was a kid.
Captain Falcon.
That's what it is. Captain Falcon. Yeah, and
I
Falco
knew
from
it
Star
was
Fox.
something.
Yeah, I loved those guys. Another quote uh, uh, at this point after they are all done flying, Jake says that was so absolute.
Oh yeah, I have that too. Is that? Did anyone? I mean, that is clearly like of the 90s. I just don't know if that's something people actually said or if that's something you say when you're trying to imitate how people talked in the 90s.
Yeah, it sounds like from Clueless or something, not real life.
Maybe it's
So
from Rocket Power.
yeah, yeah, I guess that's right. Out there in California, things are different over there.
Yeah.
That line is followed up by a little bit of an uh-oh,
Mhm, mhm. It
where
is.
he says, as returning to human, he says, "It's like now being back in a human body. I feel like I'm handicapped or
Yeah.
something."
Uh-oh, yeah.
And then Cassie says,
Problematic, Jake.
and blind. Human eyes are so lame for seeing things far away. And they really packed in all the ableist language they could in that paragraph.
I wonder if they changed that in the new ones. Or
Let
if
me tell you,
the new ones are like 2011 though or something, aren't they? That might be too
yeah,
like not in the woke
I, I
era.
I wish I had thought to do this for the first episode. I didn't even know they had it, but I've got here a list of the differences, the updates,
Mhm.
and that's not one of them. So
Okay,
they
okay,
didn't.
so they didn't think to do that yet.
No,
I
that was
mean,
fine.
there's another line here, because Marco gets on some bullshit here, and it's quite good.
Uh huh.
Uh, where he says, "Let me get the actual exact line here. I won't paraphrase."
Yeah, please.
Uh,
Oh, I know. I
yeah,
have the line. I know the line. Go
yeah.
ahead.
He says, "The flying part is great, but it's not a good idea to be able to see that well. Look, Jake, how many times have you been walking around the mall or whatever, and you'll see a girl who seems good looking from far off, but when you get closer, turns out she's a skank? I mean, if you could see this well all the time,
Marco is in top form this book.
he really is." Rachel calls him out and he says, I quote, "I wasn't being sexist. It goes both ways. See, from far off, I look taller than I am."
Yeah, this is, I guess, our first also introduction that Marco is a little self-conscious about his height.
Yeah, Marco's a bit of a manlet.
Yeah, no, this was funny. Marco's funny. Uh,
Mark,
but
yeah,
yeah,
were we talking earlier about which one of them would be the incel? I think this is why Marco is the top candidate for
yeah,
that.
yeah, and there was they changed the word skank to dog. in the later edition, which
Mhm.
is not that much better. It's not really better at all. I just yeah,
Listen,
I don't
don't censor Marco's art,
if
you
anything,
know?
it's just more accurate, honestly. I think dog is actually better because I'm not gonna get into the word usage here, but anyway, that was a good line. Marco's
Yeah.
great.
I knew there was a reason I liked him.
I mean, we'll get into it more as this book goes on, but this was the book last episode we were saying we would be Marcos or who would we be or who would we want to be.
Yeah.
This book, I was like, did I base my personality on Marco?
Uh,
Is this why I am the way I am? Uh, but,
yeah.
but yeah, another thing. Okay, we didn't mention last book, but I know you're going to want to at least we should highlight it because it was here
Mhm.
as well. Is the use of the word thermals?
Yes. Yeah. No, I think that's going to come up probably every single book. Like that's Animorphs is one of those books where this is where you learn what a thermal is. If you didn't read Animorphs as a kid, you don't know what the hell anyone's talking about when they say the thermals. But if you did, that's a little like passphrase, right?
Yeah, yeah, they love the thermals. They love them. They're warm.
The
They feel
thermals.
good.
I don't even know if we've explained what a thermal is. Maybe we should just keep that a secret for viewers in the know.
Yeah, for all you viewers out there, you have to read the book if you want to know what a thermal is. It's our little
That's right.
secret. Now they do describe also Rachel describes the experience of speeding through the trees as a video game nightmare. I don't
Hmm.
there's a lot of K Applegate's like really is like kids relate to video games. Throw in those video game comparisons when it
Yeah.
doesn't really make sense. I don't know what does that mean? I don't know
Yeah.
what that is.
Well, it's like when you're doing your speeder through the forest in Star Wars. There was definitely some old like Star Wars game I played as a kid where you did that. I was
Sure.
never a gamer, so I have like one or two video game experiences from that age.
Right. That's the one thing that keeps you from really being Marco. You haven't reached
Yeah,
full Marco yet.
that's true. Yeah,
You got to play Dead Zone 5.
right.
All
I got to
right.
learn about the sleaze troll in the Nether Fjord to be okay.
That's right.
Yeah,
So yeah, good
but yeah,
good opening scene.
it's quite good. Yeah, when they're standing around talking after doing all this bird stuff. Jake reveals that he went in and looked, and the old door to the Yerk pool is gone. So if they want to keep doing stuff with the Yerks, right, they're out of leads. They got to find a new lead here. Marco, of course, is like, we're not gonna do that. Um, but they decide that, well, we can spy on Chapman. We can spy on the assistant principal Chapman, and they can do this because Rachel and Melissa, Chapman's daughter, are/were friends. um,
Yeah.
they're, like, not that close anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked this introduction of the Melissa relationship
Mhm.
because it was a lot of times in TV shows and any like ongoing series like this, it starts to get it can almost be unrealistic when you're like, why do they only have these three friends? They're the only people they talk to for their whole lives. Like,
Yeah.
usually you're like, at least like you kind of know that guy, you kind of know that guy. So I like that it's like, oh, like they're people. Like she has another
Yeah.
friend. It's good.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately,
Does that never come up ever again? Is the
we basically don't hear much about Melissa again after this book, which is sad because I actually really like this storyline.
that
And
is
it
surprising to me because Chapman is
yeah.
such an important character.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense that because, and we'll see a little of that in this book, but, the more that they do all this crazy stuff, the more they kind of get pushed away from their peers because they're out like killing yerks and whatever, and suffering traumas. So it would make sense that as the books go on, they would become more and more isolated. You'd see fewer and fewer side characters, but I wish there was more of a progression there. I really like all the scenes because there's a lot in this book too, where it's like I go home and I'm supposed to be doing my homework, but I didn't because I was out doing bullshit, and now my grades are tanking and I'm having nightmares and blah blah blah. Um, and I like how much of that is in this book. I wish we could see a more steady progression of how they get pushed out of their everyday lives. But
Hmm. Yeah. Oh well. Well, we'll see.
yeah,
Maybe it'll be different this time.
maybe it will be different. I do want to highlight a little line where when they're describing Melissa and what she looks like, Rachel says that she looks like one of those solemn elves in a Tolkien book.
All right, hold on. Oh, yeah, yeah. I have this. I have this too. Oh man. You're ahead of me. Actually, I got a few other things. Well, I took too
Oh yeah,
many
sure.
notes.
I, Yeah, I don't know that because a lot of the next stuff is just kind of like, oh, intro to Melissa, what's going on here? So any of that stuff in any order, really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's fair. But yes, she describes her that way, which I find interesting. There's another instance of this later in the book, but especially in this instance,
Mhm.
the phrasing of "in a Tolkien book." Oh,
Yeah,
really? Which one? Which one do you mean? Like,
uh, fe-
just say, why not just say Lord of
Fellowship
the
Part
Rings?
2. She's talking about Galadriel, I assume.
Yeah, but God damn you. I just don't know. I don't know. I guess it just sounds. I guess it's. I think I really what it is for kids who know, then they can be like feel cool because they're like, I know
Yeah,
which book she means.
yeah, because this was before the movies. The
Yeah,
So you
yeah,
had to be a nerd to read Tolkien books.
that's true. And yeah, honestly, like even if you had heard Lord of the Rings, you there's a good chance you probably didn't like Tolkien might not mean much to you in this at
Yeah.
this time.
No, I did not read any Lord of the Rings stuff till after the movies came out as a kid. I was
I
not a Tolkien head.
I did read The Hobbit as a kid.
Okay.
So I probably did know that name, but I don't remember.
All I knew about Lord of the Rings was I had a coloring book when I was a real little kid, like 5 or 6, and it was like a monsters coloring book. So it had all these monsters from fiction, and one of them was Gollum. And so there was like a picture of Gollum, and it said, oh, here's all the information about what he is and what he does. And it was all like from The Hobbit. None of it mentioned any of his stuff in Lord of the Rings.
So he had a
Um,
monster manual.
yeah, it was a monster manual coloring book. And I colored Gollum in purple, I believe.
Oh yeah, that's cool as hell.
Yeah.
She Melissa is also described as she quote dreams of being the next Shannon Miller,
Yes.
who is an Olympic gymnast, I believe.
I looked her up. It looks like she was like absolutely top tier, like exactly at that time.
Got it. Yeah, they removed that reference in the new one. I guess for people who don't know, do we say they updated these at a later point? I don't know if we're referencing updated versions and no one knows what we're talking about. People know. Who cares? Sorry,
Yeah, whatever.
I'm rambling. And there's also a part that
Fuck
I
those
thought was
versions.
a slightly bordered on the problematic. Where also she
Hmm.
says she's small and thin, even though she
Oh
doesn't
yeah.
starve herself like some fools who want to get into gymnastics,
I
which
don't know
feels
if
like
I don't know if that's problematic, honestly. I think I don't know if it was handled well, but like
Mm,
I will say coming from when I was a kid, I used to compete at climbing.
mm,
And one thing that was definitely true with climbing is that, like, it doesn't really matter how strong you are. What matters is your strength to weight ratio. So you can get better by getting stronger, or you can get better by getting skinnier. So there was a real problem with, especially with the girls at the high level competitive things, where you'd see people shoot up really good, really fast by effectively becoming anorexic,
I
um, and then
oh,
that just ruins you forever. It's not a good idea, and you shouldn't do it. I don't think that it's wrong to
I
kind of
thought
say, like, for competitive sports, don't do that.
I thought I said that climbing talk is banned on this podcast.
I don't think you said that.
Okay, well, going forward, I decree it. I think, I mean, to be clear, I don't, I'm not, I, I'm not a person who actually is like offended by any of this shit.
Right, you got an eye for it though.
I'm kind of, but I'll point it out. The part that struck me was just that it's maybe arguable, but she calling them fools could be construed as like saying people who have eating disorders are dumb. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? As
Hmm.
opposed to like it's an actual
That's
like
true.
disorder that they
That is true, but I guess, yeah,
at the time,
context,
it wasn't,
yeah,
like,
and
seen that way.
context does matter, right? Because there's the difference between somebody who has an eating disorder because, we live in a society and they have issues, and somebody who has an eating disorder for the practical purpose of becoming a better gymnast, which is a real thing that I'm sure it must exist because it exists in other sports, especially when you're a teenager and you're highly competitive.
Yeah,
Um, so
yeah,
I don't know. I think that there can be some merit to that, but
yeah.
maybe.
No, it's by far it's not the most egregious thing I've
Yeah,
seen.
and if you I guess that's another thing is that it is true most people are not reading this from the perspective of being like I want to be a top level athlete, right? Most people reading this are just kids.
Yeah, well, I'm certainly not. I've never
Yeah.
come at anything from that perspective in my life, and never shall, so,
Yeah.
yeah, you're a freak.
You're just a very uncompetitive person.
Well, that's not entirely true. I wish it were more true. Uh, anyway, let's see. So that's good. So we meet Melissa.
We meet Melissa and we see that something is wrong with Melissa, right? Like they've Rachel and Melissa have kind of been drifting away in the past couple, I don't know if it's weeks or months. It's hard to tell, probably because they're kids and time works differently when you're that young. But Melissa is also very distant. When Rachel tries to say, "Hey, Melissa, we should hang out," she's kind of like, eh. Um, so and this I think actually kind of comes back to the Tom thing last last time because Rachel's very she gets immediately suspicious, right? It's like, why is she acting differently? Why doesn't she want to hang out? Is she a yerk? And but on the other hand, Melissa also is just like these are all symptoms of depression, right? She's depressed, she's upset, she's withdrawn, she doesn't want to hang out. So I do think, it makes Tom a little more plausible.
Yeah, yeah. These kids are just ruined for life now. Anytime someone acts a little weird, they're like, "Are you a yark?
Yeah, yeah. Could be, you never know.
Why don't you want to go to the mall with me? You a yark?" Rachel,
That'll be
please.
my new shaming
I
method.
have work to do. Yerk. All
Yeah,
right.
and next time you don't want to hang out or do something, that's going to be my line.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Are you infested or something?
It's risky because if they are, then they'll probably kill you.
That's true. Or maybe I'll get infested.
Oh, that's a good double. That's a good trick.
Maybe I'm a yerk and I'm trying to figure it out.
R-
You can tell me if you're a yerk. But I'm not
From what
obviously.
the
But
way I
if you,
understand it, if you ask someone if they're a yerk, they have to tell you.
yeah, that's the yerk law passed
Mhm.
down by the Council of 13.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll get to the Council of 13.
We will. We will. They first show up in this book. Um, After Rachel fails to connect with Melissa, so we get a pretty bonkers scene for a kids book, I gotta say.
Hmm, hmm.
Rachel is walking home alone after gymnastics practice, and she gets accosted by some college age guys. And remember, she's 13. This would be a kind of egregious for a kid's book anyway, but it's pretty super egregious. Um, and they effectively just straight up try to sexually assault her and or abduct her.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like it's kind of crazy. I feel like nobody read these books. They just let her do whatever she wanted to do,
Yeah, yeah, and so as she retaliates by as one does.
turning into a half elephant.
That's right.
In the dark alley, she turns into an elephant and like fucking trumpet blasts them out of there or whatever.
I mean, I do think that the reason that this was, for the time, this was probably a late 90s, mid to late 90s was
Hmm.
definitely in media. Like, I think you were starting to see more of a, like, and not always executed perhaps as well as it could
Yeah,
have been, but a girl power kind of like women can fight now, you
yeah.
know?
I like that. I don't actually think that this is handled all that badly, other than the fact that
No.
it's heavy for. Again, I read these books when I was 8, and I was the target audience.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's kinda crazy to think that that's the demographic of some of the stuff in these books. But yeah, she turns into an elephant. Does she, like, hit them? I don't remember. She just scare them
I
away.
think she just, like, tries to be like, "Oh, yeah, you wanna go for a ride now?" But she honks at him instead because 'cause she's got a trumpet, and the guy, fucking bolts it out of there.
Yeah, and then Marco is, kind of rightfully so, when he hears about this, is like, you probably shouldn't let people know you're an Animorph.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually I don't know, I almost have the opposite reaction because she comes back and Jake's like, "What's wrong with you?" And Marco's like, "Yeah, are you insane?" And even Cassie's like, "Yeah, that was the kind of stupid, Rachel." And, on the one hand, you're right, you shouldn't let people know. But on the other hand, she's getting chased into a dark alley, and it's not like she has like a small morph. She's got a eagle and an elephant, so it's not like she could just turn into something small and run away.
Mm.
I feel that argument, but the conversation's kind of victim blamey.
Oh, now I see how it is. Now you've put me in a corner.
I have.
Yeah, I mean, I can't, like, necessarily blame her in the moment, but it does feel like, yet another sign of these kids not being that careful. Like, this
Yeah,
what if it was a Yerk, right? They'd be dead.
yeah.
They'd be
No,
screwed.
that is true. It just I mean, and again, like it makes sense to bring that up, but it just feels more like, maybe Marco should be like, "Oh, how stupid can you be?" And Jake should be like, "Well, you got to be more careful." And
Mm,
Cassie should be like, "No, no, I'm with Rachel," or something like that. Like
fair.
every single person just comes down like, "Yep, dumb decision to be out walking by yourself, Rachel. Dumb to be doing that. Dumb to turn into an elephant." Even Rachel's like, "I made a stupid decision."
Well, it's representative of what the patriarchy was doing to our children in the 90s.
I suppose so.
Yeah, it's realistic.
Yeah,
Uh,
but yeah, Rachel gets home after she walks out of the dark alley and she gets picked up by Chapman with Melissa, who give her a ride home. Um, and it's a little bit spooky. Chapman does some like, "Oh, you don't need to give me directions. I know where you live" type stuff. You know.
yeah, I really like I think that it was this scene maybe I was referring to, but there's some good scenes in these books so far, with like hidden knowledge and like
Hmm.
people have secrets from each other that it makes me think of this feels like a lame example. Sorry for using ableist language, but in Spider-Man, which one was it? No Way Home? Or no, which one is the Home? No, they all have fucking names I can't remember. But the one with Michael Keaton as the Vulture when they're driving to the dance and you
Is that
know,
Homecoming?
yeah, that sounds right because it's the homecoming dance. That's right.
Yeah.
And I guess I won't spoil it, but there's a scene in Peter Parker and MJ. You don't know she's MJ yet. I don't know. Who doesn't matter. Anyway, that's a good thing. I like it. Hope that helps. Everybody likes that.
Yeah. You really clarified your point there well.
Everybody liked that.
You,
Everyone
you
understands.
managed to weave in and out of getting across the information without spoiling anything.
Yeah, without spoiling this movie that everyone on the fucking planet has seen and no one
Right.
cares if I
It's
spoil.
years old.
I'm just sensitive to this. I like things with it's like this conversation. I have secrets, you have secrets.
Yeah.
That's
It's
what I find that fun.
it's good to not know. I that's Listen, that was part of my issues starting off when we were discussing Animorphs, and you were like, "Why can't you describe this series you love?" And I'm just like, because so many things I love are things that I want to see you organically react to when we get there. I want you to look at the morphing and be like, "It's like straight up body horror." That's great. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Um,
That's what it
it's
is.
good though. Yeah, Rachel. I also like in this scene, Rachel's shoes are all ripped up because she didn't take them off before she turned into an elephant, and Melissa comments on it, and Rachel's like, "Oh, I told you I needed to go to the mall. I could go shopping." It's quite good. It's a good save, I think.
Yeah, these kids are spending a lot of money on shoes and clothes.
I think they are. I think they rip a lot of shoes in these books.
You gotta have some privilege to be an Animorph, you know?
Yeah, yeah, or go to the Goodwill very, very often.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. Is this also around the time, or maybe it's a little later, we learned that Rachel, has divorced parents?
Yeah, this is we might learn it a little later, but this is we meet Rachel's family when she gets home. So we get to meet her mom, who is a lawyer. Uh, and she when she gets home, her mom's very busy with law stuff. She's got a brief, she's got a court tomorrow. So she can't cook tonight. They'll have to get pizza, and this is like a regular occurrence. And her dad's not around here, but yeah, they are divorced.
Yeah, and she has 2 sisters, Jordan and Sarah.
Yes, Jordan is the older and Sarah is the younger. They're both younger than Rachel though.
Yeah, so I like that she has some kinda trauma in her life
Hmm.
also.
And we will actually next Rachel book, we'll see that explored. We'll see a lot more of her family life.
Okay.
Uh, so that is again, this is good. They really do flesh out the day to day activities. You know, it's not just
Yeah.
we're traumatized from slaughtering Hork-Bajir. There's also just my parents are divorced, and that makes me feel upset.
Yeah, yeah, you get both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, So this is also a part where she, you keep bringing up some of the awkward, for the kids phrasing. There's a point here because she calls up Jake on the phone to try to get everybody together so they can meet up and discuss the Melissa issue, and she says, I got that new CD if you want to listen to it.
Oh, yeah, I had this too. I was afraid we missed that. Yeah. Yeah,
No, no, I'm
that
not gonna let
new
you miss that.
CD, not a because that's what kids would say.
Yeah, the new one.
That new CD. I mean,
Oh,
this is true. Just the other night, I was in a apartment building of another person, and there were 2
mm.
other people I didn't know, like, walking down the hallway, and I swear to God, one of them said to the other, "You gotta listen to to that soundtrack for that video game." So, I swear that was the conversation. So, you know what? Maybe it's real. Maybe that's how people talk.
It's how adults talk, and
Yeah, I
unless
believe
these were children that were
yeah, CDs are cool.
CD is nuts.
Okay.
Uh,
What are you doing?
I,
What are you doing?
I you know what? I am proud of that one actually.
Alright, great. Now can we get to the cat?
Yeah, this is where we get to the cat because they decide that Melissa has a cat. So if they morph into the cat, they can go into Melissa's house and follow Chapman around and maybe see something. So they
Oh.
do a stakeout outside Melissa's house that night to catch the cat so they can morph into it,
A
um,
cat which is named,
which is named Fluffer McKitty.
and I gotta ask at this point,
Hmm.
as listeners know, your Twitter handle that you sometimes go by is Dog Times McGee.
That's true.
Think is any connection here?
No,
Are you
I
sure?
I'm
Subconsciously?
maybe there's a subconscious thing on the McGee thing, but the dog times specifically is a reference to a one gun show comic that wasn't part of an arc and no one remembers.
Yeah, the webcomic gun show. I don't know,
Yeah,
I still feel like the cat version of you is Fluffer McKitty.
that
So,
could be. Maybe you're Fluffer McKitty.
maybe I am.
You're a
Maybe
little
I
catty.
am. I am. I am. So I really like so they go through this whole process of getting this cat to morph it,
Yes,
right?
because they're like trying to catch it, but it's being a dick. It's scratching them up. It runs up a tree. It's just being a gigantic pain in the ass to catch. And actually, I did want to point out that during this time, we see Marco being a dick to Tobias again, and I did think that was something that was in the first book where it really seems like Marco picks on Tobias. Like he
Mm.
he specifically is as at his meanest when he's talking to Tobias. I think
I like
because there's a
that.
point here where he's just like, I don't think I could be friends with someone who eats mice or whatever. So don't go eating mice, Tobias.
Oh,
The
yeah,
whole
yeah,
bird,
yeah. And my
and everyone
Tobias
gets
is
mad
really
at him.
hungry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty. Oh, was this? Oh no, there's a later line, a really good line about Marco. We'll get to it, but yeah, Marco
Okay.
again. He's really in top form this book. He
He
really
is.
is.
He re yeah, uh, but yeah, I don't know, it's anyway, they decide, "What if we catch a mouse?" And, Rachel morphs into the mouse, and then we can lure the cat out of the tree, by being a mouse, so, they do, except it's a shrew, whatever, there's a whole big thing about, "It's not a mouse, it's a shrew," and Rachel morphs into the shrew. She goes a little crazy with with the shrew stuff. We've sort of been over this before, where they every time when there's a new morph, especially the little scaredy ones, they go crazy with it. She gets a little bit of a hankering for some maggots.
I have the quote. I wanted to eat those maggots.
Thinking about those maggots.
Yeah.
That's the one. But yeah, eventually she gets it together. She lures the cat out of the tree. This seems a little fucked up and dangerous.
Well, what I liked about this scene was I feel like this is what it would be if there was an Animorphs point and click adventure game.
Mm,
It feels like it's like, "Oh, the cat's in the tree. What do I do?" And you have to, like, search around for it felt very video gamey, just like
yeah,
Hey Applegate likes to say. I enjoyed that.
like a
That's
video
fun
game.
for me. And now I cannot believe you're just going to gloss over
Mm. Hmm.
the part of this book that unironically made me laugh out loud for, like, a minute. I mean, I don't know, I don't remember the last time a book made me laugh out loud.
Which part is this?
This is the shrew part. And and Marco says, of course it's
Oh,
Marco,
yes, yes.
"Wait a
Yeah.
minute, Rachel is going to become a shrew? How will we know when she's changed? How do you become what you already are?"
Yeah, to be fair, I have heard you make that exact joke, like, a lot.
Alright, well, don't let
I've
everyone
joined in
know
on
how much of a misogynist I am.
Okay, well, I've joined in with that joke a lot as well.
But it's just the I mean, just the audacity of putting that and then they just, like everyone just ignores him, like, nobody cares, it doesn't offend Rachel really, it's just they're like, "Whatever,
Yeah,
Marco."
this is classic Marco.
I thought that was
Mar
fucking hilarious,
Marco's
I
their
loved
resident
it.
troll, you never know what he's gonna say next.
So, yeah, that one really hit me, that was good. I like
It is quite good. I think I might not have put it in here because I figured you'd bring it up.
I was like, "That this is great, I love it, I'm in love."
That's that one's a little treat for John.
That was very funny. They also, I think it's around this time too. This takes place on. They mention a very specific street name, which again kind of goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning of like, is did you the name is like
Yeah.
Laughlin Street. It's like
Yeah,
not a
Laughlin,
name
I think.
you wouldn't make that name up. So it's just like, what are you doing, Laughlin Street? Don't say a street. What are you doing?
Yeah. I mean, Chapman knows what street he lives on, but yeah, yeah, try to maintain the facade at least a little.
Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah. And now that I understand, it's just a show, I should really just relax. I'll just
Right.
yeah, I won't worry about that too much.
Yeah, I mean, I still when I was a kid, I worried about it all the time.
Yeah, you were worried they would get caught. You're like, "What are you
That's
doing?"
yeah, that's right. Because it was happening right now, right? It's like you publish Visser Three is gonna read this.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man. But
Dangerous stuff.
yeah. Cat comes out of the tree, though. They do get it. They they wrestle it into a cat carrier and Rachel acquires it and they get slashed the hell up in the process.
Yeah, cats are
Now
mean.
I should point out they don't answer this question. Cassie's like, is he at least neutered? And we don't find out. Now, I don't think neutering is part of the DNA. So if he is, when Rachel later morphs the cat,
Huh.
is she walking around with her balls out? That's my
Jesus
question.
Christ. There is that one line I thought was weird where she smells the scent of another cat and it says, "I wanted to fuck that cat real bad." I thought that was strange for a kid's
Mm,
book,
yeah,
but
that was a little bit. Well, she
it
was
wa
in heat.
yeah, it was the '90s. Do
Yeah,
male cats get in heat, or that just
I don't
female
know.
cats?
Maybe the cat. I
But
probably not.
speaking of wanting to fuck cats, um,
Yes, continue.
this part of the book, I think there are some furries got awakened here for sure.
Hmm.
I really I believe that this must have happened when she turns into a cat
Yeah.
and
Now she doesn't actually do that immediately, but basically nothing happens, right? She
yeah,
goes. They go home for. They're like, you know what? I'm tired. I'm going home. We get some scenes of her at home again. Whatever. She. Then the next night they come back and turn into a cat. But
okay,
yeah,
okay. Yeah, I put them together because like you said, nothing
yeah,
happens.
nothing happens. There's a little bit there that I alluded to that we can hop back on, but yeah, nothing happens. That's it.
Yeah, I have a few quotes maybe I'll look at, but but this part, yeah, she's turning into a cat, and there's a point where she's basically is a furry that she said she was still mostly human, but she has fur on her and whiskers, but
Hmm.
everything else, quote, pretty
Hmm.
much the same. And Cassie says, "Oh, that is cool. That is way cool. You look great." And Marco
Hmm.
and Jake both nod in agreement.
Oh yeah.
Marco says it's kind of weird, but also kind of pretty.
I mean, everybody loves cat girls, I guess.
This is it's some furry shit. That's all I'm saying.
There is some furry shit, and they spend a lot of time gushing about how cool it is to be a cat. Like, there's like a good,
Yeah,
10 to
yeah.
20 pages where nothing happens except Rachel talks about how cool it is being a cat.
I bet if you were like especially a younger girl who loved
Hmm.
cats, you loved this book.
That's probably true. I mean, this book still made an impression on me. Like, I still remember all the time where Cassie says, like pound for pound, a house cat is one of the fiercest things out there, and that is actually like kind of true. Like, there aren't that many. Like, if you want an 8-pound non-venomous animal that can fuck your shit up, there aren't a lot of them.
Yeah, yeah. I guess that's true. That's true. Yeah, yeah, like you said, they spend a lot of time just being like, "Man, cats are cool."
Yeah,
It's a lot of
yeah, yeah.
time.
There were 2 cats we had when I was growing up, and one of them, they were named Bean and Bo. And Bean, who
Why don't I
was
know about Bean and
I've
Bo?
told you about Bean and Bo. I must have told you about Bean and Bo.
Well, I don't know if you have, but go on.
Bo is spelled Beau, so it's exactly the same as Bean, but you flip the last letter.
Love it.
It's good. Um, but yeah, Bo was always very timid, but his sister Bean, she got in cat fights every single night. Like, she would go, you would hear her howling and screaming, and she fought off all these other. There was this like big feral tomcat in our neighborhood, and she would fight this cat. This cat, like, if you ever saw them going around, you'd see this cat was very dominant everywhere except in our yard. It was like a full on gang war between Bean and this feral tomcat.
Sounds great.
I think we tried to catch him once when he got stuck in our garage, but he found a way out before we could get animal control there. Um,
Jesus.
I should also mention that one time our neighbors had these like big labs. Um, so like big dogs, as far as dogs go, like 90 pounds or something. And one time Bean got into a fight with it and she bit it so hard that she broke off her front tooth in that dog and then ran up a tree and we had to get her out.
My
Um,
god.
but like Bean was a monster. Or I'm
Was
sorry. Yeah, yeah, yeah. She was like,
was she fixed?
I have no idea. But yeah, like when this book talks about cats being like vicious little monsters, I always go back and I'm like, yep, that was Bean.
Alright,
He was
yeah.
a hardcore cat.
Yeah, I had cats growing up, but the worst they ever did was bring dead chipmunks on the porch.
Yeah, our
Which
cats like to bring live mice into the house to hunt, and then they'd lose them.
Jesus
So
Christ.
we got mice because our cats they didn't
Your
want to
cats
hunt
were
them
fucking
outside, I guess.
feral. You didn't have these were not domesticated animals. You had wild cats.
Apparently, I don't know.
Oh,
Uh,
Jesus. Well,
I can't
anyway,
believe you don't remember. Maybe I never mentioned Bean and Bo. Oh
you
well,
probably didn't because you hate me. And you don't want me
that's
to.
true. That's true.
You don't want me to enjoy things.
uh,
But at
yeah.
any rate, they get
At
she's a cat.
She's a cat. They spend a lot of time with her being a cat, and great vision. I perfect grace and poise. Muscles like liquid steel. All this kind of stuff. Um,
Yeah.
no, I should say before she goes back, before we move on too much to what she does when she's a cat. In that day in between, we do get the nightmare scene, which is kind of. I think it's a staple of Animorphs books. Is this the scene where they have nightmares about what they're doing?
Okay, fair enough. They're all
Uh,
fully traumatized.
they're all fully traumatized. Trauma is a big theme in Animorphs. But yeah, Rachel wakes up screaming. Jordan like runs into her room and is like, "Oh my god, what's wrong? You're screaming!" And she's screaming because she's dreaming about being a shrew and eating maggots off of a dead cat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she goes into the bathroom and throws up. I think so far I'm glad we have a vomit scene in every book so far.
Ooh. Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, a little
More
little
vomit.
treat for you.
More vomit, please.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I also wanted to say that on the bus, uh, Jake talks about Rachel looking all shook up or whatever, and Rachel says like, "Oh, do I really look that bad?" And Jake immediately rolls it back. Well, I didn't say you look bad. I just want to come back to this theme of Jake maybe being, I don't know. It's just inappropriate. I
He
feel.
just thinks his cousin is really pretty.
Yeah,
That's all.
that's all. That's all. Nothing wrong. You know.
What's the big deal? I also had a line in here from earlier that I didn't say where Rachel says most girls think Marco is really cute. So
Yeah.
that's
I
I don't know. That's Marco's cute apparently. That's what she
Yeah, I
says.
mean, I do think that comes up in the future that Marco is like he's got a lot of self-esteem issues for being short, but like he is short in a cute way. But also he's jackass. Oh,
If if there's one thing I've taken away from these books, it's that these are some good-looking teenagers.
yeah. I mean, I do think throughout the books, Rachel and Marco are kind of flirty.
Mm.
Especially for somebody who wants to fuck birds. You'd think she'd. We definitely get some scenes with Rachel and Tobias. Rachel sticking up for Tobias, Tobias worrying about Rachel.
Yeah. No, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of that in this book.
Yeah, not that there's anything wrong with wanting to fuck. If you want to fuck a bird, who am I to
Yeah.
say no? Nothing wrong with or fish. If you want to fuck a fish, like the fish from Fantasia, that's also
Now
totally acceptable.
who is the bird to say no? That's another question. That's
Well,
of
the
consent,
the
but
bird. I mean, the bird's into it. He can.
oh, in this case, yeah, right, of course,
Right,
yeah.
right,
Yeah,
right.
if there's a bird that has the mind of a human, you
Yeah,
do what you like.
go for it.
Um, uh, yeah, there's a part I liked where Tobias sends Rachel a lot of, thought speaks
Mm-hmm.
just for her in this book,
Mm-hmm.
and she says, "Tobias sent me a private message."
Yeah, he's blowing up her phone.
He slipped into her DMs.
He's down bad.
I like that. Alright, so she becomes a cat. Let's get to the meat here because this is
Yeah.
really where the lore comes in.
Yes, this is where so she sneaks into the Chapman's house. I think this is the first time we also see that she like intentionally doesn't take complete control because she's nervous and the cat is like calm. So she's like, "Well, just let the cat be calm for me." But anyway, as she's going in, she's watching the Chapmans and they are weird, right? Mr. Chapman is like sitting on the couch, just kind of looking at the wall. He's not reading, he's not talking, he's not watching TV. And Miss Chapman is in the kitchen and she's like cutting up vegetables, but she's not like talking or listening to music or doing anything. They're just kind of like sitting there.
Yeah.
I think this is a little bit like I don't know. Is this a reasonable way for Yerks to behave?
Yeah, do they just sit are they like they're like hyper intelligent beings.
Yeah.
Why
Like, they could be engaged in conversations with the human within the mind or something, but it's just I don't know. Like, I
Mm,
feel like we don't see Yerks behave like this in the future on their own.
it is creepy, like,
It is
it's a
creepy.
yeah, it's a cool moment if you don't examine it too closely.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. This idea of something being wrong in Melissa's home, you definitely feel it for sure.
Especially, like, as a kid, you imagine, like, going downstairs if your parents are just, like, staring into space.
Right,
That's
because Melissa's, like, upstairs working on her math homework or whatever. They bring up math
yeah.
homework a lot, but but yeah, Rachel follows Chapman into the basement, where he makes his report to Visser 3. I guess he makes, like, nightly reports or something, which is lucky, because she can only hang out in that house for, like, 2 hours at a time. So it's a good thing that she's gonna catch something. Um, but he goes down there and talks to a hologram of Visser 3, and this I mean, I stole the greeting they use for the intro. I don't know if you,
I did
appreciated that as a listener.
they yeah, I don't think they did.
I don't think they did.
But yeah, as he says, what does he say?
"May the Kandrona shine and strengthen you."
So, alright, I have questions.
Uh-huh,
Um, I is eh, isn't the
uh-huh.
Kandrona, from my understanding, was sort of just like water or the sun, like, it's like a nourishing substance, but this makes it seem like it's like a religious thing too.
It sort of is, and that's not explored enough, but especially in these books, like, the Kandrona is given extreme importance in your culture.
Okay, because
Um,
I wasn't
it
it sounded a little bit like if we were like, "May the calcium strengthen your bones today,
it's
my friend."
It's more like, it's more like being a sun worshiper, because
Ah,
Kandrona rays are specifically emitted by the Yeerk sun, and when they interact with whatever's in the Yeerk pool, that's how they feed on them. So the Kandronas they have, the portable Kandronas, basically are just producing these Kandrona rays that the sun would be producing.
okay.
So yeah, it's like if you ate vitamin D and we were sun worshippers.
Okay, yeah, you said sun worshippers, that brings it all together for me.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. It's not like explicitly religious, but there are other books where they kind of bring up like this is a centrally important part of your culture, or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But yeah, Visser Three's pissed because there's bandits. Those Andalite bandits. You got to go find them, Chapman. No, but I can't find them because they're not doing anything. Whatever. But Visser Three mentions the Council of 13 here.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
so we find out a little bit more about the York power structures, right? The Council of 13 is above the Visser in some way. And so, he says, I if the Council of 13 finds out about these Andalite bandits, they're going to be mad at me. And if the council's mad at me, then I'm mad at you or whatever. He's being very threatening here.
And what a I mean, I'm sure that we'll get into this later, but it's like, 13? What a specific number. It sounds cool. It sounds cool, but
Mhm.
it's like
It's prime.
like you have to if one of them dies, you gotta get another one. There's always gotta be 13. Is that kind of a thing? Like, I don't know.
I'm not sure. We will talk about I mean, the origins of the Council of 13 we don't know very well. And some details on what that might be might come up in the Hork-Bajir Chronicles. And
Hmm.
the closest we get to probing the workings will come up in Visser. But yeah, I don't know because they sometimes they die, and
Okay.
I don't know what that means.
13 is a metaphor for
Yeah,
something.
there's
You know,
also like a secret emperor among them, and none of the 13 know which one it is, or something, or nobody outside the 13 knows. I don't. It's weird.
here's a dumb question. Are these Yerks speaking English, or does Thought Speak like translate languages?
Yeah, so it's weird because ThoughtSpeak does translate languages. Andalites have their own language with their own words, but when they speak to you because they're psychic, you hear it in your language. But they do say that the hologram thing can't translate ThoughtSpeak and is just translating his ThoughtSpeak into actual words. Um,
Huh. Oh, right.
Chapman
Yeah.
speaks English, so in theory, right? It's speaking English to him.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You know,
Yeah, they
whatever.
do speak in other times, like the Hork-Bajir will speak half English and half whatever galactic standard is. There's a name for it, but I don't remember.
Got it. Got it. Well, yeah, I don't know. We'll just say
Yeah,
thought speak magic makes it happen somehow.
yeah, it's thought speak. They're psychic, whatever. Anyway, Visser Three spots Rachel as a cat and says, "Kill her. That could be an Andalite. Kill it." And Chapman's all, "Oh, I can't kill it, or it'll blow my cover." Um, we get this. This is my favorite bit of lore from these books. To be honest,
Wow.
is Visser Three. His hologram takes a swipe at Rachel with his tail, and rather than running away, Rachel hisses and swipes back at him. And Visser Three fucking loves it. It's the greatest thing. He's like, "Look at this animal, even though it's so small and unassuming, it's really vicious. It's not scared of me at all." He loves it. And we get another scene later on where we get to see him just like love cat. Visser Three's a cat person.
Yeah.
Uh, I
Yeah.
think it's a real missed opportunity that later on when we see Visser Three in human morph, he doesn't just like have a cat that he's stroking.
Can I just say we stan a cat loving king?
Yes, you can say that.
We stand him. I
You
love
did.
that he's a cat person. I think that's a fantastic character trait.
Yeah, I wish more was made of it, but I think about it all the time.
As will I. As will I from this day forward.
Now, Visser 3 is pretty Darth Vader-y here.
Oh yeah, I
Okay.
mean, I was very well, it feels a little like Chapman is Vader and he's the Emperor, but I feel like there's probably an Emperor to his
Oh.
Vader. I don't
I mean, I was just when I was looking at this, like, because there's um, when Visser 3 says, kill the cat, whatever, Chapman says, I can't do it because my daughter will find out that I'm a Yerk. And Visser 3 says, fine, just bring her in and infest her. And Chapman brings up that he has a deal, right? In his 226, the Yerk has a deal with Chapman, the human, where Chapman is a voluntary controller on the condition that Melissa not be infested.
right.
And this is part of the Darth Vader thing because this is where Visser 3 says, effectively,
Oh,
I am altering the deal.
he does yeah, I know he does say that, yeah.
It's pretty straight up. And he also threatens Chapman. He's like, "I'll kill you if you fail me," which we'll get into that in a bit. But it's very Darth Vader esque.
By the
Uh,
way, clearly Visser 3 is not a study of, screenplay writing. He has not read Save the Cat, hasn't taken that to heart. He wants to kill the cat. So, he is not a, screenplay writer. He's not he
yes,
doesn't
that is true. Uh,
yeah.
but yeah, I just feel like sometimes Visser 3, and we'll see more of it, needs to get reined in a little bit. He's
He's
a
a
little
little much, this guy.
he's a little bit too maniacal. This just isn't. It's not the best way to run your invasion force. He's not subtle enough for an infiltration. Anyway, he to threaten Chapman, he morphs into a Vanarx,
Yes.
and this is a ridiculously horrifying monster. It's like kind of like an anteater, but for Yerks. It's got a giant tube sucker head mouth. And it like puts the tube mouth over your head and sucks the yerk out of your ear and then eats it alive. And he shows a hologram recording of him eating another yerk that failed him, and also puts his hologram head over Chapman's head and threatens to eat him, you know,
Yeah,
in person.
it's very messed up. I mean, so Visser 3 is a cannibal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I suppose, but only okay, only in Van Ark's mode because we'll talk about yerk cannibalism later.
Okay. Can't wait. Yeah, this description of the Yerk Bane, they also call it,
Yes, the yerk bane.
just so you know, bad for Yerks. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's pretty disquieting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, but
Even Ms. Chapman is shocked
yeah.
by about this.
Yeah,
It's
no, when Innis 226 comes up and tells his wife, he's like, "Oh my god, he morphed a Yerk Bane, his face is white." She's freaking out. She thinks it was just a rumor that people told each other to scare them.
And by the way, the last episode I asked about the numbers, and you weren't sure
Mhm.
why their names are. It seems like they clear that up here
Do
because
they?
she's at least this is how I'm interpreting it. She
Mhm.
says, and when she hears that, she says he used a Van Arcs on an Innis of the 2nd century.
Now, she does, but does that Innis have a number that correlates to the
Yeah,
2nd
isn't
century?
Oh, I guess I was thinking she meant, like, she would threaten to do it to you, which is and his number's 226. I thought, like, 226
No,
maybe is
I thought he ate a Yerk with, like, a 1.
did they s I don't remember them actually saying a number for the
They
one in the
did.
video.
They
Oh, they
did.
did?
Let's see if I can let's see if I can find it here because it's
Oh
very
god.
important we get all of these names correct. We wouldn't want to accidentally. Yeah, Innis 174 is the one he ate.
Oh, maybe it's like a millennium thing where, they have a
Hmm.
calendar based on
That's
Christianity.
Yeah, that's true. The first century Innises would be zeros.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wonder when the Yerk but then yeah, it still doesn't work because that would how old do Yerks get, I wonder? Because
Well, I
We
think it's like the
see we
year they
see
were
Vissers with
born.
nines leading their number, so we must be in at
Oh.
least the 10th century.
Huh. Yeah, okay, so maybe I'm wrong, but I thought maybe that was the thing. I don't know. Or maybe it seems like it must be related to that. It must be somehow when they were born or something.
It could well be, yeah.
I don't know. Who knows? We'll never know. There's no way to know.
Right. We'll construct our fan theory and that'll be the correct one, and then we'll know.
If you know, don't email us. All right.
That's r- that's right. That's right. Well, whatever. He's Chapman basically ends up convincing him not to kill the cat, but yeah, but Visser's still pissed at him and wants those bandits. Uh Rachel gets out alive. She gets out uncaught, and instead of leaving, having learned whatever, she goes up and comforts Melissa because Melissa is very upset that her parents don't love her anymore.
Yeah, whatever. Get over it.
Yeah, get over it. Yeah, no, I guess she like comes down and is like, "Help me with my math," and they're like, "You need to learn how to do it yourself," or whatever. And yeah,
Like
so she
again,
sits up.
Yerks
Yeah,
are stupid. I don't understand this. They're bad at pretending to be parents.
sometimes they are good and sometimes they aren't, and I don't really know how to whatever. Rachel sits there and gets pet for a while. It's a pretty touching scene, and the whole time Tobias is outside yelling at her to get out, being like, "You've been in there for an hour and a half. Everybody's worried. Don't get caught as a cat. You need to. Jake is throwing a fit.
Yeah, they need to shut up.
Yeah, yeah. Just let her get her pets in here. You think maybe Rachel's got a thing for Melissa?
Oh, maybe. Maybe.
Could be.
Sure, that could be I'll write a fanfic about that. No, that's a
Okay.
little weird, right?
It
That's
is
weird.
a little. Yeah. Well, it depends on where you go with it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna do it. I decided I'm not gonna do it.
Okay, okay, that's probably for the best.
And, is there really does anything else really happen before she goes back as a cat?
No,
I don't
she just goes back the next night. The only thing that's important is that she doesn't tell them that she almost got caught. Right?
Right,
She's
right.
like, I went in there, I heard some stuff, I could hear more stuff. She doesn't tell them. Yeah, I mean, basically, this book, a huge section of this book, it's like, okay, we go to Chapman's one night, and then the next night we go back, and then the next night we go back, and
Yeah,
it's just all Rachel as a cat in his backyard or in his
it's a
house.
little repetitive. It's almost feels like, maybe something else should have happened, or maybe you just needed to go there once, really.
Yeah, I don't know.
In terms of, like, story structure and pacing, it's a little bit, like, weird, but
Yeah, for sure. And maybe they just needed to fill out the pages here.
yeah, I think it's around here because it's nighttime now.
Mhm.
I'm bringing it back to Marco.
Oh,
When
yeah.
when Cassie, who, by the way, kind of a nerd, says,
Excuse you?
"A cat's vision at night is about 8 times stronger than a human's."
Mhm. Yeah,
Cassie said,
classic Cassie.
helpfully. I looked it up. Oh, good for you, Cassie. And then Marco says, 8 times? Not 7 or 9? How do they measure that? And I was like, that is a thing I would say.
Yeah,
It's just
it is the thing you would say. Are you I wonder if you're gonna call out every single Marco line of dialogue from every book from
it really just struck me in this book. I was like, this is just what I'm like. I don't
Yeah, yeah, that is you for sure. Cassie's a little bit of a mansplainer when it comes to animals.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's correct. Alright, but then she gets back in the basement, and,
Right.
this is where I got real pissed off at Jake, to be honest with you.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, so when they first start off, they're like, Jake can't show up, he's grounded. Nobody, whatever. Rachel goes back in, and when she's already in there, Jake says, "Hey, Rachel, what's up? I morphed a flea. I'm on your back."
Yeah, but and he scares the shit out of her and
Yeah,
almost blows their cover.
that's true.
I was like, "What the
And
fuck are you doing?"
yeah, and I mean, it is also when he's a flea, and this is consistent throughout the book. He doesn't have any idea what's going on. He can't see or hear particularly well. So he's like, I better morph so that I'm there with Rachel so I can find out what, because she was acting suspicious last time. And then the whole time he's like, so Rachel, what's happening right now?
Yeah, every other paragraph, "Tell me what just happened." It's like, "Dude, you're annoying. You're annoying. Cut it out."
He's a little bug. He's got some of that bug brain in him.
But this also and I mean, I cut this a little slack because it's like, okay, I understand it would be pretty boring if this was every book, but why it really just seems like this whole operation would have been better if she just turned into a bug instead of a cat. It just seems like you should always just be a bug if you want to spy on someone.
In the future, they do start turning into bugs, but bug senses are weird and bad, so they actually have
Mhm.
to like train them. Like there's scenes in later books where it's like, oh, my bug eyes are compound, my bug hearing is more vibration than hearing. I have to like sit around and listen to you talk for a couple like 2-hour morph sessions until I can figure out how the hell I'm supposed to spy on you.
Fair enough.
And I think they do say at the beginning, like, are bug senses even good? Would that work? Yeah, fuck it. Let's just do the cat.
Yeah, yeah, I guess so. I mean, there's other smaller animals though that you could be that are
Hmm.
better at sneaking around. But it's she's a
Yeah, she
cat,
could try the
whatever.
shrew again as long as they
Yeah,
catch the real fluffer and keep him away.
yeah, yeah.
That's true.
But anyway, the fleas pissed me off.
Yeah, how do you feel? You think Jake sucked any of that blood? Because he said he wanted to.
Oh yeah, he did for sure. He did. He had
Okay.
to.
Yeah.
After a spider, he's like, whatever. This is normal. He's
Yeah.
into it.
It's fine.
I kind of think. Oh, so first of all, another thing during these scenes that I thought was a little strange is the fact that the Chapman inside the real Chapman,
Hmm.
like he can hear and internalize all these secret conversations.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It just seems like I don't like from the Yerk's perspective. If anything ever happened, like he has all their knowledge basically. And
Yeah.
from his perspective of like, I'm doing this to save my daughter. Meanwhile, the whole time you're just listening to them like, we're closer to killing all humans. Like, how do you think this is going to end? It just seems bad.
Yeah. I mean, listen, war is about compromise, and sometimes if you have it's a trolley problem, right? Like he's saving Melissa now in the hopes, you know, that who knows, something. Uh Maybe they won't succeed, maybe they will, but right now we can save Melissa, and so that's what I'm going to do because I love my daughter. Um
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think there is definitely some of that. And like I said, when we get into it deeper, there's a lot of like no good choices to be made because if he wasn't a voluntary host, they could still infest him. They could still infest his daughter. They
Right.
wouldn't be able to use him the way that they are, and we'll talk about that. But it's you know, um, I don't know. I don't even know if he's giving up that much.
Yeah, no, yeah, I don't want to be. It's not like the dumbest thing ever, but it was just a little, just like it just feels like maybe some people should be taking more precautions. But I guess it's just how Yerks work.
That's fair. I mean, we'll see what happens later on if for example a whole bunch of people lose their yerks all at once. There could
Where's
be
that one
instances of
lady?
this.
Where's the lady on the horse?
Where
What's
is
she
the
doing?
lady on the horse? There are a lot of stragglers in this book that just like discover it and don't. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
We'll see. All right.
These questions do at least get addressed to some degree in some ways, right?
Okay.
I don't know if they're addressed well, uh, but yeah. At any rate, this time the Visser Three spots her and is like, "Well, yeah, that's an Andalite. Second time in a row. Come on." Um, yeah. So Chapman grabs her and has to like fight with her, and she scratches him up again. Visser Three loves it. Visser Three loves seeing the cat scratch the shit out of his subordinate. That's what he likes. Um, and he says, "All right," and he also says, "Fuck it. This time you're bringing me that Andalite, and you're bringing me Melissa. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of that deal. Get over it." So, um, Chapman goes to tell his wife, and then they both of their hosts rebel.
Yes. Yes. This concept they introduce here of host rebellion,
Yes,
that it's possible for the people inside to like fight against the Yerks and take control temporarily.
yes, and we saw a bit of it with Tom last book, where his eye
Right.
twitched when he was trying to get Jake to join.
Right. Right.
They
Right.
really
Yeah.
go all out with it here. I feel like this is the most host rebellion we'll see in the entire series. Like we'll see other host rebellion, but never to this extent.
Yeah, right, right, right. Yeah, but it is it's a good concept. It's scary and a lot of this stuff is very frightening.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love
no, just like out of nowhere, it's like my own hand slaps my face, or I'd like fall to the ground and start like making faces, just kind of going bonkers.
I do
Um,
I want to criticize these Yerks some more.
yeah,
I
I
I
mean, you're a Yerky boy; it's your entitlement.
Well, the first thing I thought was funny was during this conversation, Chapman opens it with like, "I have 4 new hosts, Visser. Isn't this great?" And Visser's like, "I don't fucking care about your
Yeah,
hosts. Tell
yeah,
me tell me about the Andalites." And then it's like 2 pages later, he's like, "By the way, we need guards. We need more hosts." It's like, "Well, come on." That he
yeah.
opened with like, "What do you want? Do you have a
Uh,
what are you doing?"
Visser Three is not known for being a nice boss. He's not a good person to work for.
He's a bad leader. I think he kind of sucks.
Yeah, yeah.
I also
Listen,
I just
he's like a Darth Vader. Darth Vader was never a good leader. Darth Vader's at his best when he has a Tarkin to rein him in. Like when
yeah,
he is just left to his own in Empire, he's just killing subordinates left and right. It's not good.
yeah, that's fair. That's okay. Yeah, that's part of his character.
Right.
But and then well, then the next part where when he captures the cat, also I feel he he knows they understand thought speak exists. They know there are 5 Andalite rebels. Is he
Mhm.
not going to assume they have like backup waiting right outside the house listening for support? Like he
Yeah,
thinks they're not going to know he took this cat?
it is a little bit strange that they assume the Sandalite is out on its own.
Yeah, like how stupid do they I mean, they don't know they're just kids, so they are pretty
Yeah.
stupid. But they should assume more intelligence. I don't know.
Yeah, no, the only thing they say is Chapman's like, "Well, what if he morphs back to an Andalite and hits me with his tail?" And Visser's like, "Well, then just shoot it. It takes like a minute to morph. You got a Dracon beam.
Yeah, which by the way, again,
They do
why
have them
why can't they just call it a gun? A handheld Dracon is there a
because
non-handheld Dracon beam?
yeah, yeah, they're bug fighters. I don't know if we ever
They
said the
say
phrase
bug
bug
fighters.
fighters.
They say it
Yeah,
in this book.
but yeah, their fighters have Dracon beams, like mounted big ones.
This
They've got Dracon cannons that they can shoot. You know, Um, and it's a different kind of phaser technology than the Andalites use. The Andalites have some other kind of gun. I don't quite remember the name of it off the top of my head.
it just feels a little bit like, "Now I will shoot you with my handheld lead propelling device." Like, what do you don't gotta say what it's made of, just
If
call
you
it.
were a gun nut, you would not. You would be all. You would list off some like name and make and model and a whole bunch of, you know. There's a difference between shooting. I mean, I guess you could say there's a difference between shooting with a pistol and a rifle, and I just said both of those could be different kinds of Dracon beams. So
I don't know, Dracon.
maybe I talked myself into a corner.
Maybe you did. I don't know. So you don't have to worry about me, just the listeners, all 24 of them.
All 24 to 25 next time, I bet,
Hell,
because of how
let's
good it
hope.
is.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Uh, but yeah, we do full on see. It feels like the host rebellion here. It feels like in the context of the later series, Chapman and his wife fight back like way harder than anybody else. Like I
Mm,
think they should be valorized for how well they do here, and they do. They
mm.
do kind of say that like every time I fight them, I'm gonna break their spirit a little more, and eventually they won't be able to fight anymore. But it's exhausting, and if they time it right, like wait for a PTA meeting and then go crazy, then you know maybe they won't necessarily get caught as yerks, but they're probably not going to keep their position as the head of the sharing because everyone's going to think that they're. I believe they say it's a sign of mental illness in this culture.
They do say that. They do say that. Yeah. Which again, it's fine. It's fine.
It's fine.
They're right. They're
We can
right.
work.
You would be ostracized.
Well,
That's society's fault, not. It's not a.
yeah,
They're not
that's
saying
true.
that's right.
That's true.
That's just how it is.
Yerks definitely think that's right.
Yeah, the Yerks are all about that. Do the Yerks know about history? Or are they like, oh, this Hitler guy was pretty cool? Do they study our
Visser Three, they do get into. I mean, first of all, if the human they infest studied it, then they know. But
Mm.
there's a little bit where they get into this where Visser Three, some of the Yerks are pretty vigilant about that and think about it, and Visser Three does not. Visser Three does not give a shit. Uh, about any of that. He's not the guy who should be leading this invasion. I'll just
Yeah, I'm getting that sense. I'm getting that sense.
yeah, he's just there so that they can have a big screamy guy who turns into monsters
But I
to
agree
fight.
with you that Chapman, especially in this final scene, is kind of a badass.
Yeah.
And I like that. So in the first book, I thought, it was a great uh use of, your principal is evil. Like that's a
Mhm.
classic like kids book kind of device. You
Mhm.
don't like your principal. But then book 2 right away, now you got to sympathize with him. Now he's like a hero.
Yeah, they
Uh
flip it on you.
I thought that was a pretty good and fast turnaround.
Animorphs loves doing this. Animorphs loves taking things that you hate and then making you have sympathy for them. Animorphs loves taking people you love and making them do terrible things.
Like when Jake is a flea and he's pissing me off.
Right, right, like that. Or when Cassie decides to be a nerd about animals. I like that.
It's fine. It's whatever.
I
It's
would
fine.
I would do that.
Yeah, yeah, you would. Maybe you
100%.
are, Cassie.
I
Um,
don't I am definitely not Cassie.
there's also a part here where I mean, maybe you should just describe the ending scene so then we can get
Yeah,
into
I
it.
mean, yeah, sure. Well, I mean, at this point, he takes out. He's like, "All right, I'm not going to take Melissa. I'm going to see if I can talk sense to him to Visser Three." Rachel's in a cat carrier, and he's taking her out to the car to drive him off to the construction site again. And Melissa comes out and says, "Where are you taking my cat?" And Chapman just kind of ignores her. So they get Tobias to bring the real cat over, and then Chapman gets to lie and say, "Oh, well, I guess it's the truth." He says, "Oh, this isn't your cat, honey." But like, there's a whole point where Melissa is pleading with him not to take the cat, and he's just ignoring her. And there's a pretty like heartbreaking scene where she says, "Oh, well, if it's, if you weren't taking the cat, why didn't you answer me?" And he says, "Oh, well, I just didn't notice you." And she says, "Well, but I was crying." Sorry. It's like it's really sad for Melissa here. Melissa's gonna have some issues, I think,
Yeah, yeah.
growing up.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough having 2 Yerk parents. That's
Yeah,
rough. That's like
yeah.
if we were your parents.
You know, earlier on, they actually, when Rachel talks about her parents being divorced, she kind of likens it to this, where she says, like, when it first happened, I felt like my parents didn't love me, and eventually I realized that
Yeah,
wasn't true. But like, I feel like K.A. Applegate is trying to like tie this in these like fears that maybe your parents hate you or don't like you, or you
yeah.
know,
I
or
say
that you failed them. You're a fail son. You're 30 years old. You haven't done anything with your life. Like that.
that you got a little too.
Oh, okay.
Let's go back to the divorced
You're
parents
an
thing.
Animorphs podcaster instead of.
Oh boy. Woof. Woof. Yeah. Sorry, I did a dog morph for a second. Woof.
Oh, that's okay. Morphing's allowed on the podcast.
Morphing's allowed. So yes, but in spite of this trauma, they take her to the construction site, and
Yeah.
then
They
shit
take her
happens.
to the construction site, and we get a scene. You were talking about Chapman being a badass. We get a scene,
Yeah,
because Visser Three's pissed that they didn't bring Melissa along, and Chapman, the host, asks to speak to Visser Three directly. So the Yerk releases control so Chapman can talk to Visser Three, and we get a pretty badass like speech that he gives
yeah, it's great.
here.
He
Hmm.
rules.
Yeah, it's good. He yeah, he can like barely, he can't even stand because he doesn't remember how to stand because he hasn't done it in so long. He can barely speak, but he has this whole thing where he says, Melissa is no threat, but I am. It's good. He stands up to Vista 3.
Yeah, and I think it's around this time too that one of them introduces the concept of a Yerk's spawn mate. Do you know what that means?
I don't know what that means exactly.
There's
Uh
he says
well,
something like we can replace, or we're gonna like replace, or we'll put in your
okay.
daughter us one of your spawn mates.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So I think I brought this up earlier. When Yerks
Oh, they're
breed, three Yerks come together, they die, and a whole bunch of little grubs come out of it. So I think it's kind of like a brother or sister. You're from the same batch of
okay.
grubs,
Okay.
as I
Sure.
assume. I assume that's what that means. Now, what was
Feels
the number on that Yerk? On the spawn mate Yerk? Because maybe
I
we
don't
can
know if they
figure out.
oh, yeah, I don't know if they say. I don't
Innis
have that part.
455 is the one
Okay.
that he wants to put into Melissa.
Well, that does not square with anything, so
Yeah, I don't know.
doesn't I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah,
Uh, but anyway, that happens.
yeah. But yeah, it's great. Visser is, I guess, in some degree moved by Chapman's speech because he lets it go and he says, fuck it. You brought me the Andalite bandit. I'll torture this Andalite. I don't need to do."
He's kinda just like, "Jesus Christ, I don't wanna deal with this shit anymore. Just
Yeah,
fine.
yeah,
Shut
yeah.
up."
As long as he's got an Andalite, he
Yeah.
can he can torture the cat. He can find out. Maybe he can even morph it back and infest it, or I don't know that Visser thing. He keeps talking about like putting his lieutenants in the Animorphs' heads, but to me it feels like Visser Three is the kind of guy who really would not want there to be other Andalite controllers. Like
Mm.
he seems like he should. I don't know. As we get more into it, he really feels like both the kind of guy who wants to see every single Andalite with a yerk in their head, not dead, specifically enslaved, but also he seems like the kind of guy who'd want to be the only one.
He's a little bit of a snowflake, this guy.
Is he? How so?
He's like, "Oh, look at me, I'm a snowflake."
Huh? Yeah,
He wants
sure.
he wants to be special,
Yeah.
you know?
Or why not?
"I need a safe space from the other Andalites."
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
true.
you know?
No, he you've done a great job portraying Visser 3 here.
Yeah,
No, he loves Andalites.
He's a big crybaby. I don't This guy doesn't
He is
impress
kind
me.
of he is a kind of a crybaby.
He's more like
Little too much of a
Kylo
crybaby.
Ren than Darth Vader.
Mm. Mm.
You ask me.
Maybe that's why I simp him so hard.
I would like to see him shirtless in a
Oh. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
that would
Big
be
thick
good.
chest. Mm.
Okay, so then they
The
save her.
Yeah, the point is that, yeah, Visser, whatever. Chapman leaves. Now, I should mention because I don't think we brought it up before. Visser Three's got his blade ship here. They've got a blade ship and some bug fighters. And when Visser 3 showed up in the last book too, the first time at the construction site, he had his blade ship, which is just a spaceship that looks like a battle axe, and it's his it's his like flagship.
Reminds me of my wife,
That
the old
old blade
battle
ship.
axe.
Yeah. I don't know. I like the blade ship, so I think it's important that we bring it up at some point here.
Sure.
But he takes him on the blade ship. Uh, Jake somehow jumps off of Rachel and then turns into a human, then turns into a tiger without anyone seeing him.
Yeah, that's fine. Sure.
I guess
Yeah.
Rachel somehow morphs only her hand so she can reach out and unlock the cage. Which
I
it
like
feels like they
that.
don't have that much control over the morphs usually, but
No, that was good. Yeah, I like the half morph. It did make me question what happens if you run out the time limit in a half morph? Are you just like a fucked up monster for the rest of your life?
Let's talk about that next book.
Oh, Jesus. All right.
Yeah. Well, we can. Yeah. Anyway, um, yeah. So whatever. Rachel's out of the cage, but still a cat, and it should be noted she's got like 10, 15 minutes left before she's stuck as a cat. Here, the
Yeah, yeah.
clock is running out. Um, and Jake is now a tiger and fighting them. And we see that Cassie and Marco have shown up outside and they are running earth movers into the spaceships.
Yeah, can we I want to pause here because I don't know if I'm just if this is weird that I'm the weird one. I don't they use the word earth mover a lot. And I
Mhm,
don't know that I'm like that familiar. Like from context I understood like oh yeah, it's like a construction vehicle like it moves the
mhm.
earth, but that's not I don't know that that's really a phrase that I'm like so familiar with. They use it like it's a very like everyday kind of a thing all the earth movers. Like if you just said to me like, "Look, there's an earth mover outside," I think I would be like, "Huh?" Like I don't know that I know what that is off the top of
Yeah,
my
I mean,
head.
I don't. I'm not an expert, but I have heard that term a lot. I think it's just a generic catch-all for like heavy duty construction equipment.
Yeah. It makes
Uh,
sense. I
I'm
just
not a
yeah.
construction guy. I don't, but
Yeah, whereas I am, which is why it's strange.
well, then you would know it's probably a very strange thing.
Yeah, anyway, but that's not important at all.
Yeah, none of that matters.
Just had to
Whatever.
say it.
It kind of matters because there's like a whole battle sequence.
They just
They
say
fight
it
the.
like 8 times, Earth Mover. Go on.
They do, yeah. Anyway, they're ramming the Earth movers. They actually blow up one of the bug fighters by ramming it with construction equipment, which seems I don't know. I feel like the bug fighters, they're sci-fi tech, right? Why can't they? Whatever. Like you
Whatever.
could probably run over a jet with a piece of construction equipment and mess it up, but I don't know. Uh, I just
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
Is all. I just don't know. But they fight their way out, and Rachel's trying to figure out where she can morph safely because they're in the middle of all this chaos. Visser 3 morphs into a giant rock monster.
But it
Um,
wasn't a rock.
it's a
It was
rock.
a rock monster.
I gotta tell you, a lot of Visser Three's morphs are really cool and interesting, and I loved them as a kid. Even having reread this book a bunch as an adult, I could not have told you what kind of monster he transforms into here at the end. It's just not very interesting.
Yeah, it's a rock. It's a big rock guy.
He's a big rock guy. He's got 3 legs, I guess.
I gotta say, I kind of thought Visser 3 would be like the big boss guy, uh,
Hmm.
but more like the emperor. But he is more like like he show up every book.
Yeah, most every book. Not,
So
I
he
don't know if it's every book, but he shows up most books.
okay,
He shows up to turn into a monster or whatever, and then say, "I'll get you next time."
yeah. So I guess yeah, he is the. I guess it makes sense. He's in charge of the Earth project.
Yeah.
It's. I guess it feels like. Don't you have other? There's like literally an entire planet. All of your business is just in this town.
One thing that we might talk about later, but they do actually mention in the first thing, is that one of the things that makes humanity so interesting to them is that apparently there are way more humans on Earth than there are aliens on like any of these other planets. Like there are just nowhere near as many Yeerks as there are humans, or Andalites, or Hork-Bajir, or Taxons. Somehow humans are just it feels a little weird that the like 6 billion point that we were at it when these books came out is so much higher, but that seems to be part of
Mm,
the issue here is that if the Yerks put every single Yerk into a human being, they would not even come close, which is part of why they're doing the infiltration thing.
which kind of also helps explain why they didn't just like win day one.
Hmm. Hmm. And
Yeah.
when we get into Visser, there's a lot of detail about like why didn't they win day one? Why haven't they done a war of conquest? Should they be doing a war of conquest? But
Yeah.
we'll talk about that a lot when we get to the only book narrated by a Yerk fully.
Mm.
Um,
So there's some good action here. I did like that they also mentioned the Hork-Bajir, and Rachel has the same thing that I said, where she's like, it's hard to imagine they'd ever been anything but killing machines.
yeah, yeah, that's part of what I love about Hork-Bajir. The first, dozen books or so, they really are just like scary monsters, and then, much like Chapman, you learn who they are. And again, if you don't love Hork-Bajir when we first meet free ones, we won't be friends anymore. So
Ooh, I have a ticket out of here.
yeah, you won't have to do the podcast.
Keep that one in my sleeve. We also
Hmm.
we get here Taxon speech for the first time
Yes,
phoneticized.
I think we do. Yeah, this book starts with the phoneticization. uh,
Um,
it becomes a heavy thing throughout the book, so
hmm.
we get a little bit of it here.
Yes, yeah, well, I just the quote, a
Hmm.
Taxon it sounds like "Sri Shway Snurp Snurrup Sreet."
Yeah.
So,
You know, like a taxon.
Shway. Isn't that,
Mm.
isn't that Wayne's World?
Shui.
Who says Shway? That's the
Shui. They
Oh,
say
no,
that
that's from Batman Beyond.
it's from Batman Beyond.
Wayne's World is swing. Batman
Mm.
Beyond, yeah, Shway is their word for cool.
Hmm. That's a
That's
good word. We
that's
should
pretty
we
yeah,
should bring that back.
that's Shway as hell.
Yeah, Shui. We get a good scene with the taxons too, where uh, Visser Three is like, "How long to lift off? 2 minutes, not long, or, too long," and he kills it with his
Oh,
tail. And then all
yeah.
the other taxons come in and just eat the shit out of him while he's still alive, dying there.
Very fucked up. Yeah.
Yeah, they spend a lot of time describing it. Well, a couple
Yeah.
paragraphs, which is a lot of time.
It's gross. It's very gross. And then the book
Hmm.
ends.
Yeah, I mean, basically, yeah, they're all fighting. Tobias flies Rachel to safety out of the middle of the fight, and then they're out of there. They escaped. They did it.
The
They.
Both of these books so far really hit you with the climax, and then they just piece out of there.
Hmm.
Big
All done.
big battle, and it's like, "All right, book's over. What else do you want? Buy the next one."
I feel like that happens a lot. Like big moment, and then like maybe a 3-page final chapter that just sums everything up.
Yeah. Yeah, as Tobias says, there will be a next time
There will
until
be.
the Andalites return.
Hmm. Now, Rachel at the end here does a thing where she leaves Melissa a little note.
Oh,
And
right.
yeah, she types it out. She doesn't want her to know who it was. So instead of writing it by hand, she types it out on her word processor. That's what we called them back in the 90s.
Yeah.
But she says, Melissa, your father loves you more than you will ever know and more than he can ever show you. Signed, someone who knows.
Now, if I'm Melissa, I'm calling the police.
You don't think it's sweet?
No, I'm
You don't
like,
think it's
this is a
touching?
stalker. Who could even know about this? This is fucked up. I don't it's like I imagine it's written with like cutout magazine letters. This is this is a boundary
Uh,
crossing right here to me, but
yeah. Yeah, no, and it's also one of those things where, again, at some point they got to get caught doing this.
yeah, they're pretty careless, but that's the book
That's
basically.
the book. That's it. We
And,
finished it.
yeah, I enjoyed book number 2. Now last week we, forgot to rate the book. We
Oh
were
yeah,
gonna
are we doing that?
I don't do we even want to. It's now it feels stupid. It was one of our
Yeah,
ideas originally.
yeah. I don't think we need to rate them.
No, I don't even know what it would be meaningless. I don't even know how to rate them, honestly.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I definitely enjoy it a little more than I did when I was a kid, for sure. It's I don't know. I appreciate some of the more touching scenes with Chapman and some of the character interactions. And I think as a kid, I just kind of took those for granted as like throw that more on the pile of characters talking to each other. But like what actually happens in the book? She turns into a cat and goes into the house, and the final
Yeah.
battle scene kind of sucks. They show up, they fight, they leave. Not that much.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, no, I liked it, and, I thought there was a
yeah.
lot of good, like, developments, it didn't
Yeah.
feel like it's just, "Oh, another adventure." It's
Mhm.
like you learn about the Host Rebellion, you learn a lot more about, like, oh, how does he talk to Visser Three, and you learn about, Melissa and the Chapmans, there's some interesting
Yeah.
new stuff there.
They set up the Kandrona as kind of a prize too in this one. This idea of like, what are we gonna do to hurt them? Well, maybe if we destroy their Kandrona, you know.
Hmm, right, right. Destroy their Kandrona.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
sounds
then
like a
they won't be able
delicious
to eat.
soft drink. I ch You want a diet Kandrona?
A
Uh,
Canadrona?
a Canadrona, that could be it. You wanna hear the pop culture
I
rundown?
do. I'm very excited for the pop culture.
So we touched on a few of them now. 2 times in the book, somebody says, "Who are you, Spider-Man?"
Hmm.
And the other time someone it says, "Jake can be Spider-Man and catch us." Now, both
Yep.
times,
I
unfor
knew you were gonna bring this up.
unfortunately, there is no hyphen
Hmm.
in the name Spider-Man, which of course listeners will, I think, know. There
Of
is a
course.
hyphen. They're supposed to have a hyphen in Spider-Man.
Yeah, everybody knows this.
That's very important. That's part of the thing. I brought up Spider-Man early in this episode, didn't even think about the reference. And, I have to say, point to the new additions. They added the hyphen in the
Wow.
2011 versions.
Wow.
So, I think those are maybe the definitive versions now for me.
I Maybe these kids just didn't know. I mean, remember this is written from Rachel's perspective. Maybe Marco would have put the dash in if he read a Marco book and he says Spider-Man.
Maybe, maybe. We'll see if it comes up again later. I also Marco once again brings up David Letterman, says, "I could be an
Mhm.
entire episode of Stupid Pet Tricks by myself." I don't know that 13-year-olds were that excited about David Letterman.
Marco is. Marco loves Letterman. This is not the last time he's going to talk about being on Letterman.
Okay.
Maybe the rest of it. Again, I don't know. This feels kind of like a you thing. I don't know if you were into Letterman at 13, but it wouldn't shock me to learn that.
Well, I was a Conan kid. I
Mm.
loved Conan. So which,
Mhm.
so if I had no I think if I had known more about Letterman as a kid, I probably would have liked him, but,
So there you go.
I guess, maybe. There was another this was an someone says my arms looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger's, only gray. I guess I don't know what they were talking about. I just wrote these quotes out of context.
Mhm.
This one I liked. They asked something about like cat versus mouse, and someone says, "Haven't
Yes.
you ever seen Itchy and
Yeah,
Scratchy?"
Cassie says that, which is weird. Seems weird that Cassie would be referenced. I feel like Cassie's more of a Tom and Jerry. She's not
Well,
watching The Simpsons, is she? Well, you know what? We'll talk about
you
it.
may
But
be. But what's weird about it to me is that they reference it as if Itchy and Scratchy is its
yes,
own show.
yes, that is weird.
You wouldn't say like, "Did you watch Itchy and Scratchy?" I don't. Yeah, you would say Tom and Jerry. Like that would make more sense.
Yeah,
Marco referenced Morris the cat, which they removed later because no one knows who that is anymore, but was a mascot for Nine Lives or something.
sure.
Uh,
I don't know who Morris the cat is.
yeah, I think he's maybe the one that's saying meow mix, please deliver,
Oh, okay,
or
okay.
or something. I don't know. This was another
I know
one
that cat.
again similar to the like that Tolkien book. So they reference those old cowboy movies with Clint Eastwood. Like,
Hmm.
just say the good, the bad, and the ugly. Just say that. I think.
They don't know. They saw half of it on TV one time.
All right, sure.
They're kids.
Another reference to Doors on Star Trek. More comic books. There's another. This is another thing. You want us all to wear blue with a big number 4 on our chests? become the Fantastic Four, he adds, in case you didn't know what the four meant. He
Yeah.
just says it. This is the second Fantastic Four reference in 2 books in a row. Fantastic Four, I guess like Tolkien, in 1996, like, no one knew unless you were a comic book nerd, which I guess Marco is. So I guess
He
you can
references him a
justify
lot.
it. Like, there wasn't a movie, there wasn't a cartoon like X-Men had. It was like a fairly obscure reference really at that time, I think. But so I don't know. I just think that's interesting.
I couldn't tell you because I was not a comics kid. I do think Marco also references the death of Superman.
He does. He
Yeah.
does. They killed Superman that time, he says. So that's it. Another X-Men reference. It's like they
Hmm.
say X-Men, and there's also another Godzilla reference.
Lots of got yeah. This is
So
good.
yeah.
I'm glad we've got kind of we've got our staples. We've got our X-Men, we've got our Godzilla, we've got our what's it,
Letterman.
Star Trek, Letterman.
Yeah,
We can hit
there's
these every single time.
there's some we're noticing some patterns there. So that's all
Right,
fun and
right.
good.
No Xena yet.
No Xena yet. No. Mm-mm.
Mm.
No.
We'll get there.
Also there and one more quote. I this is from earlier, but I want to bring it back to Marco
Of course. Yeah, of course.
because Rachel says Marco can be obnoxious, but on the other hand, he can make you laugh right when you really need to.
Hmm.
And I just feel like maybe that's the service our podcast can provide.
Maybe it is. I don't know that it can.
it
Yeah. Marco
hey,
brings his A game. What can I say?
it could. A good Marco book. My favorite Marco book so far is this one. Uh
Good old Marco. Well, yeah, no, and he's not too bad about, obnoxiously not wanting to be in the Animorphs right now. Like, and part of it's because they didn't do anything. He just has to hang out outside while Rachel's a cat in there. And
yeah.
then eventually he has to save her. So I guess he has to. But
Yeah. Well, we managed to once again make this a 2-hour podcast.
yes, we have.
I don't know how we did it. I don't know if this is going to be every episode. I really
It,
thought it would be shorter.
it might be every episode. I did too. But well, I mean, who knows?
There
We
still is a
thought
lot
we
of
had more time to
groundwork.
fuck around, is the problem.
I know I shouldn't have talked about that fucking Polygon article.
Yeah, that was a waste of at least half an hour.
But it is what it is. But we're done. We're done now. We're done now.
We are.
But we
Yeah,
do want to remind people that we have an email address if you have questions or comments. I don't know what your
that's true.
questions would be. It's more if you want to complain about like the stupid things I say.
Why is your podcast so bad?
Why doesn't he? It's just a book, dude. Shut up. Stop complaining that it doesn't make sense. It's written for kids.
I don't think any of those people got this far.
No, the people who hate it are the ones who are going to listen the most.
Okay, perfect.
You're wrong.
Yeah, we
Anyway,
should make it worse.
you can email us theyerkyboys@gmail.com.
Yes, and as we said last time, if you put spoilers in there, say so in the title,
Yeah,
so that we know not to show it to John.
that's right. So that we know. But if you're one of our 24 listeners, God bless you. May the Kandrona rays
Yeah,
shine upon you. And thank you for doing that.
yeah, we love you.
We love you.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Where can people find your other
Right,
projects?
right. Forgot about that part. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can follow me at Quince on Twitter.
Hmm.
Or find my other stuff at jonathanessis.com.
Hooray! And if you wanted to, you could follow me at DogTimesMcGee on Twitter, as long as Twitter still exists. We'll see
Uh-huh.
how long Musk keeps that going.
I think you know what? I think Musk might be a controller.
Well, well, there's good stuff coming up in these books. So let me just put it that way.
All right. All right.
Let me just put it that way.
Little tease.
A little bit of a tease, but thanks everyone for listening. Tune in next time when we'll be discussing Book 3, The Encounter, in which Tobias turns into a hawk on the Yerky Boys.